What do y'all think revolution resistance is? Like, I really want to ask y'all, what do you think that entails? Do you think it's cute? Do you think it's just posting squares online? I'm trying to talk about how marginalized people, when they're dealing with violent oppression, the response is typically going to be violent back because they're going to mirror the tactics of the oppressor. And I'm using enslaved black people as an example, and someone's like, oh, well, does that include unaliving children and doing this to women? What do you think? What do you think? Atrocities absolutely happen to the innocence of the oppressors. And one could even argue whether you can call them innocents. If you care about the innocence of the oppressors, then they shouldn't be oppressors. It's the oppressor's fault. That's what some of y'all are not getting, right? If atrocities happen to innocent people that happen to be a part of a group that is oppressing or a part of a state that is oppressing, it's the oppressor's fault. Because where did the violence stem from? Right? If people are responding to violence, if they're responding to violence by creating more violence, doing atrocities, what do you think is happening to the marginalized people? Hello? Being enslaved, being raped, being sexually assaulted, being murdered, being taken as prisoners of war, dealing with genocide. All of that is going to cause a violent reaction. And you might call it an extreme or extremist reaction, right? Because those are really fucking extreme conditions. If we're gonna sit here and call marginalized people or groups of marginalized people extremists, hate groups, and maybe even, yes, terrorists, when they are simply mirroring the tactics and actions that is happening to them, being imposed onto them by an oppressor group, what does that make that oppressor group? Who created the reality? Who created the violent reality? If we're gonna condemn violence in all forms, then we have to start with the source of the violence because they're creating that environment. Otherwise, it looks like you just want to accept violence coming from certain people, certain states, certain groups, and not other ones that are responding to that. And not for nothing, you care so much about the innocence of the oppressor state or the oppressor group. Do you care about what's happening to the marginalized group? Because the same shit happens to the marginalized group. That it doesn't just come out of nowhere.